My name is Pete Eyre, and I'm half of Liberty on Tour, along with my good friend and colleague Adam Miller. We left New Hampshire about 5 weeks ago. We're doing a 13-city, 13-week tour. We do outreach, meetups, try to get embedded with local activists, and essentially all centered around advancing the voluntary society. So we self-describe as voluntarists, and we believe individuals should be free to act as long as they don't initiate force. So we just go around and try to communicate those ideas. If we're talking about the drug war, drug prohibition, I think it comes down to, property rights, as does everything else. And I own my body. I have a property in myself, so I have the right to ingest whatever substance I choose to or not ingest. Yeah, I actually came to these ideas of liberty in maybe a non-traditional way. I was going to school actually for law enforcement and thought I could help, make the world a better place. Before too long, I'd written off working for the feds. I didn't agree with any of their mission statements, so I thought I would work for a big police department, work my way up, and change the policies there. But after I did an internship with the St. Paul Police, and I did dozens and dozens of ride-alongs in pretty much whatever city I was going to, I'd call ahead and say, "You mind if I ride along with you guys?" So got a lot of, first-hand experience that way, and got to know some officers well, but at the end of the day, I felt it was very reactive, and the things that were being done were not only inefficient, but they violated people's rights. One thing we're doing different this year with Liberty on Tour is we're trying to do a lot more outreach to people not yet on board. So we're going out on the street, handing out literature, having conversations, inviting people to the meetup, and encouraging other people to do that as well. So I've been real happy with that. I think most folks their whole life are just bombarded with statist ideology, whether that's in government schools or through the mainstream media, and I feel like if they are even exposed to one person who advocates these ideas of complete liberty, even if it's for 10 minutes, especially if they're left with like a resource, like a link or a book to check out or something that they can go look at on their own and chew on it and really hash it out. And I think these ideas are so powerful that we just need to become better messengers of them and get out there and talk to folks, and because these ideas have consequences, just like the bad ideas of statism have bad consequences, war and famine and poverty. These good ideas of voluntarism have consequences, and people are lifted out of their standards of living are lifted out of poverty. They have more freedom, more creativity. I mean, it's all around. It's a lot better world to live in. Drug prohibition was the issue that got me into these ideas and got me thinking initially, and I was fortunate back in the day to read a book by James P. Gray called Why Our Drug Laws Have Failed and What We Can Do About It. And for me at the time, I knew the drug war was wrong for a number of reasons, but that was a good, well put together book about the ineffectiveness of drug prohibition essentially. And though I go farther today than Judge Gray does, it was good for me to really see that these people who were in positions of what I saw were authority, a judge was coming out against a drug war. Right now, I think New Hampshire is probably the best place to be if you're a freedom-oriented activist in the U.S. And I haven't traveled too much extensively outside the U.S., so I can't speak to other places. But New Hampshire's home to the Free State Project. We're doing with Liberty on Tour to be a recruiting drive for New Hampshire, and for Adam and my favorite place there, Keene specifically. I say Keene because that's where a lot of activists that are interested in doing civil disobedience, who aren't afraid, they're not afraid of the state. They're not afraid to go to jail to stand up for their views, to stand up for what they know is right. And, I differentiate between law and legislation, and these activists up there are standing up to illegitimate legislation. They're not violating natural law. They're not hurting anybody. There's no victim. They're just saying, no, I won't comply with these dictates simply because you put them on a piece of paper. Every dictate the state makes is backed by a death threat. From the littlest things of your grass is too tall. If I don't cut my grass when they tell me to, and they keep sending me letters and I ignore them, then they send people to my house, and if I ignore them, pretty soon guys with guns are going to show up and put me in a cage. And if I try to ignore them or fight back, then I'll end up dead. So everything the state says is ultimately backed by the threat of death. So, our big message is don't grant these people authority. Don't tell them they have extra rights, that they have a right to kick in my door, that they have a right to tell me what I can and can't do when there is no victim. If you're interested in hearing more about this, you can check out Liberty on Tour at libertyontour.com. That's also the same naming convention for YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook.